Chiefs 27, Bills 24. Where's the haters at now? I don't know. But all I know is that we're moving on, baby. Welcome back to the Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Sam Gold. And before we get to my favorite game of the weekend, man, what a weekend in general. We have 4 games you got to talk about and then 2 championship games to preview. I'm just excited as you guys are. I'm sorry to the 4 fans of the 4 teams, or not the 4 fans, but the fans of the 4 teams that had to exit this round. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be me for the 6th year in a row, by the way. Okay, we got to save the Chiefs game for last, of course, but you can't help me. I was nervous last week, and I'm just so hyped, but we got to get into it. Texans-Ravens. Let's start with Texans-Ravens. This was the Saturday afternoon game. I mean, look, I picked the Texans. I completely fell into the trap of thinking that the Texans were going to be the ones that would upset the Ravens, kind of like how the Titans did back in 2019 when the Ravens were also the 1 seed and Lamar was going to win MVP. And I totally fell into the trap because when a rookie quarterback plays this well and then puts up 45 points in his playoff debut, yeah, I'm going to be riding that train a little bit. And I said maybe it's me just riding the high, getting on the hype train. But I really did genuinely feel that it was going to be C.J. Stroud's game to lose. And you know what? I don't know. I do, looking back at it in hindsight, of course, it's just like that was a terrible decision to pick the Ravens or pick the Texans because when you look at it at this point, any good team the Ravens have played this year, besides maybe the Browns, they've destroyed. And they lost to the Colts somehow, but that was like early in the season. That was weird. They beat the Texans week 1, 25-9. They beat the Bengals 27-3 in week 2. They beat the 49ers 33-19. They beat the Dolphins 56-19. They beat the Lions like 38-6. And then they beat the Seahawks in a pretty similar score. Maybe that was 38-6. But the point is, the Ravens are a team that just straight up reminded us, especially me, that they are still here. They are the number 1 team in the NFL. I can't get over how dominant they are on both sides of the ball. This is going to be a team that if they go out and don't win the Super Bowl is going to really get lost because people aren't going to really remember if they don't get a ring this year. It's going to kind of be like the Chiefs of 2020 where we went 14-1 with Mahomes as a starter in the regular season. And then we had a great playoffs, and then we just got our ass kicked in the Super Bowl, and people kind of forget about the 2020 Chiefs. If the Ravens, they got a lot of pressure this time now. If they don't go out and at least get to Super Bowl, and I'm going to even say win a Super Bowl, with Lamar winning MVP as well, I think it's going to turn into a lost season where you're going to be like, remember how good the 2023 Ravens were? And let's say 7 years from now, you're going to say that, and we're going to be like, yeah, I think. So, look, this was pretty much a statement win. You saw Lamar go into halftime, absolutely pissed off. He said after the game that he went into the locker room, he was cursing up a storm in there, talking to the players, getting them riled up. And there's a picture of him going into the locker room. He's got like a dirty look on his face, and that's kind of like the moment you knew that he's going, no, not again. It's not happening again. They're going to go out and win. They're not losing to the Texans at home. And honestly, there was a lot of pressure on them going into this game. Like, you can't lose to a guy, even though the team is hot in the Texans, you can't lose to them. You can't pull what you did in 2019, and they avoided it. Congrats to them. I was completely wrong. It was the only game I was wrong about this weekend. I got 3 out of 4. I think that's pretty good. Man, I could have gotten 4 out of 4 if I wasn't just blinded by like the hype, but it's fine. You can't be perfect. But the Texans, man, look, this was above and beyond, just like the Packers. We're going to get to them next game, like above and beyond any of what their expectations were. We already know that C.J. Stroud is going to win Rookie of the Year. And it kind of reminded me of week 1 this game in that the Texans offensive line just could not handle the pressure of this Ravens defense. I mean, the Ravens defense, they're so seasoned in terms of like, being seasoned vets at what they do. Like, they're just so, they're so above and beyond what any other defense is this year. And that's coming from a Chiefs fan, who the Chiefs, in my opinion, have a top 3 defense as well. But the Ravens are just on a whole nother level. To hold teams to this, this game ended 34-10. If you take away the punt return for the Texans, it was 34-3. They held them to 3 points. They just scored 45 points last week. Actually, 31 because they had 2 picked sixes. But still, The Texans put up over 30 points against the Browns defense last week. They go into Baltimore and put up 3. Yeah, that's the discrepancy you're seeing between the Browns and the Ravens defenses this year. And the Browns were touted as a top 5 defense. So what does that say? Crazy. Lamar, man, like, he had just 4 total touchdowns. He looked okay in the first half, but he just looked absolutely electric, focused. That's another thing. Like, you saw Lamar in the last couple playoff runs, early on in his career. He just didn't seem focused, and it felt like there was pressure on him. He had the MVP season, then he kind of blew it. And this time, it really looks like he's there for vengeance. He just got his contract. After a player gets that big of a contract, you're kind of thinking like, wow, now I got the money. Do I really have that much to prove? Lamar has everything to prove. And props to him for not only getting the bag himself, he didn't even have an agent, but for going out. No, Al gave me a look. Yeah, he didn't even have an agent this offseason. He wanted to make it a statement. I mean, this was a big story of the offseason that a lot of people forget about. Like, he wanted to, not Ravens fans, because they were like, please just pay Lamar, but he was touting himself like he was the guy who got himself the money for the Ravens. And props to the Ravens, man. They were like, you know what? This is our guy at the end of the day, no matter what's happened in the playoffs before, and you're proving it right here. You're hosting your first AFC championship as the Baltimore Ravens. First AFC championship, I believe, since 1971, hosted in Baltimore, but that was when they were the Colts. So this is the first one for the Ravens. Props to them, and let's move on, because this was definitely the worst game of the weekend. It was a blowout. The other 3 games were much better. So let's get to Packers-Niners. Packers-49ers. 49ers just sneak it out, 24-21. I mean, the Chiefs aren't even in the AFC, but man, I was rooting so hard for the Packers. Like, Packers, you blew it. You blew it. You had it in your grasp. Grasp. I don't know what I'm saying. You had it in your grasp, and you blew it. Anders Carlson. What are you expecting, Packers fans? The guy's name is Anders. You think he's going to hit the game-winning field goal? No! Anders Carlson. Goodbye, you're out. It's just, I mean, do you want me to start making the Jordan Love comparisons again? I did it last week. Jordan Love equals Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, how about Aaron Rodgers plus Brett Favre? Because not only did he prove he's the new Aaron Rodgers by beating the Cowboys in the playoffs and then going and playing the 49ers and losing to them in choke fashion, but the play that literally ended the game, I mean, not to mention, the game was 21-17. Anders Carlson blew it to go up 24-17, which still gave the Niners time to score, which they did. Then it was 24-21. And the Packers still had time to go out there and give Anders his redemption kick. But Jordan Love, man, Brett Favre right there, throwing it across his body. Al and I were talking about this before we started shooting. Flashback to Brett Favre on the Vikings in the 2010 NFC Championship game, where he threw it across his body. Man, I can't believe I'm forgetting the radio announcer's name for the Vikings. He's very famous just for his crazy calls, but he was like, Brett Favre rolling out to the right, and he throws it, and it's intercepted. What did he say again? He's like, this is for the Super Bowl, man. You can't be doing this. And then that was the last you saw of Brett Favre on the Vikings, or his whole career. That was it. That was his last game. And, for Jordan Love to do that, I kind of just chuckled to myself. And, look, Packers fans, you got to just be happy. Just like the Texans, you got to be happy with how far you got. But at the same time, even though you exceeded expectations this season, in the back of your mind that you could be facing off against the Lions right now in the NFC Championship game. And I think that really hurts you inside. And I feel bad for you guys because I was rooting for the Packers. And, man, a Packers-Lions NFC Championship game would have been so even in Detroit. Now it's going to be in San Francisco against Detroit. That would have been an insane environment. Such an what's the word? I guess just unpredictable final 2 in the NFC. That would have been crazy, but that's it. 24-21. The 49ers won. Anything I have to say about the Niners themselves? I mean, Brock Purdy played fine, but you do have to say to yourself, when it comes down to it, when the pressure was on, I mean, Brock Purdy did have a nice final drive, but you got to say to yourself, he looked a little nervous. He looked a little out of it. Now, he didn't make too many mistakes, which was good, but you kind of just saw him not trusting his receivers as much. Now, that does have to do with Deebo Samuel getting hurt at the beginning of the game. But, Ayuk had a few nice catches towards the end. Kittle was already at the touchdown. But it really came down to Christian McCaffrey. Like, you got to just punch the rock. And Christian McCaffrey, man, he had 2 touchdowns. He had the one right at the end. Like, that's the thing with the 49ers. Like, luckily, they are talented enough where they're not going to have to fully rely on Brock Purdy. But it does make me, it does squint the eyes a little bit looking at the 49ers and being like, man, if this really had to come down to Brock Purdy making one final throw to win the game, I don't know. He looked a little shook at times, but you can't hate him for winning. A win's a win in the playoffs. I don't know, though. I don't know. I'm still kind of, they easily could have lost the game. Like, that would have been a 1 versus a 7 seed. If Anders Carlson would have hit that, maybe Jordan Love doesn't have to feel the need to throw it across his body at the end of the game because all they need is a field goal, not to tie it, but to win it. So they're a little less desperate in that moment. So if Anders Carlson just hits that field goal, this game could be completely different. We could be talking about the 49ers in a different way. So although they did what they needed to do, they got to their 4th NFC Championship game in 5 years. I wasn't that impressed. I really just wasn't that impressed. But look, props to them. They got the pick at the end of the game, and they got the touchdown when they needed it the most. So I can't rag on them too much. A win's a win. Okay, let's move on to Sunday. We got Bucs Lions. Now, it's really tough with this game. It ended 31-23. The Lions won. The Lions have now won 2 straight playoff games. They're moving on to the NFC Championship game. Look, man, like, the first game of the season was Chiefs-Lions. And the fact that the Chiefs and the Lions are still in it, like, this season has been up and down overall. But you got to be honest with yourself. Like, I said this weeks ago. I said, even though there's tons of quarterback injuries and maybe some stuff has been all over the place with reffing and teams are losing to teams that they shouldn't and it's way closer than you think this year, it makes for a great playoffs. And although not every game has been great, it's been very unpredictable. And we're seeing the Lions in an NFC Championship game for the first time since 1991. That's insane. I'm sorry. And if Anders Carlson didn't miss that kick, maybe they'd be hosting it. So, props to them for winning this game. It was 10-10 at halftime. Like, it was 17-17, right? Yeah, it was 17-17. And the Bucs were not letting up towards this game. And it really came down to the final moments where they went up 24-17. And then they got a great stop on the Bucs. And then that's a moment as a Lions fan where you're like, wow, we are up 7. We got a great stop. Now we have the ball again while we're already rolling on offense. How are they going to break my heart this time? That's what you're asking yourself as a Lions fan. But no, this is a dream season for you guys. Like, in an expectation where you think, man, all right, how are we going to Lions this one? We already got our playoff win last week. Now this is the time where we blow it. No, you guys didn't. You went right back and scored another touchdown. You went up 2 scores in the 4th quarter. And this is really proving, like, no, these guys are disciplined. You're shaking off all that dust from past years that has absolutely destroyed your hearts as fans of this franchise. And it's gone. You held on to that lead. Yes, you gave up a touchdown after you scored the final touchdown. But then the Bucs went for 2. Like, I know analytics say when you're down 14 and then you score a touchdown, you should go for 2. I don't know. That's a little too far for me. Like, I get it. If you do get the 2-point conversion, you have a chance to win at the end of the game if you get the ball back and score. But, like, just take the extra point, and then if you really want to go for 2, just do it at the end of the game to win. Like, I don't know. Because then if you don't get it, you have to go for 2 the next time anyways to tie. I don't know if it's really worth the risk, especially when your defense hasn't been playing that well the entire game. So I don't agree with that call by Todd Bowles. But at the end of the day, that's not really why the Bucs lost. The Lions were just the better team. They scored relentlessly in the second half. And they did just enough on defense to, frazzle Baker Mayfield. Got a couple nice sacks at the end. And then the pick. This game ended very similarly for the Bucs like it did for the Packers. Now, I thought the entire time the Lions were going to win, so it wasn't as close as the Packers game because I really thought the Packers genuinely blew it. But, the Bucs did have a chance at the end, and Baker Mayfield just made a terrible throw. Now, I know that's going to be the taste in your mouth as a Bucs fan towards, now that the season's over with Baker Mayfield, but No, I think you got to keep him, sign him to a 2-year contract. Now, please, this is what I'm talking about. I discussed this yesterday with my dad. I was like, if there's one thing the 2023 season might screw up for the whole league, is that they're going to give a lot of these average quarterbacks false hope for these franchises. Now, I'm not saying Baker Mayfield's bad. I'm not saying they got to cut him. No, they won a playoff game with Baker Mayfield in a season where they thought they were going to win 5 games. But what I'm saying is, please, don't do what the Giants did. Don't do what the Seahawks did. Don't sign Baker Mayfield to a 3-4 year contract. Don't give him over $100 million. Don't do that, guys. Please, it's not worth it. If Baker Mayfield's willing to take less money, just give him like a 2-year contract for like an average deal. Don't overpay for this guy just because he won you a playoff game, okay? He had a great season. He had arguably his first or second best season of his career. I would say second. 2020 was better, but like, it was a great season for the Bucs, but please don't overpay them because he's great. You got to keep him, but don't overpay him. Don't pull a Daniel Jones or a Geno Smith. It's not worth it. But man, I mean, congrats to the Bucs. They're moving on, and wow, this went by quick. We're already at this final game. I wonder what was the game that it was Chiefs Bills. 27-24. Chiefs did it. What did I say last week? Oh, yeah, the Chiefs would win by 3 points in a heart attack game. I said we won 20-17, 27-24. I didn't expect us to score more points, but we did. So I'm going to go ahead and put on these glasses because I don't even know what I feel right now. I just feel on top of the world talking about the Chiefs right now. Genuinely, though, gags aside, even though I'm going to keep the sunglasses on, like, I know I picked the Chiefs last week, but now that the game's over, I will admit, I really thought this was a coin toss, and I really thought after that McCole Hardman fumble, we were going to lose the game 100%. And you can't blame me. Like, the fact, first of all, okay, let's get rid of, like, the first 3 quarters of this game. It was pretty much back and forth the entire time. The Chiefs were settling for more field goals and touchdowns at the beginning, and then we kind of flipped the script in the second half. We started scoring more touchdowns. That was great. It was 17-13 at halftime. I was feeling a little bit nervous about our defense. We made great adjustments. We only gave up 7 points in the second half, which is what we've been averaging this whole year. We've given up exactly 7 points every second half this year. So props to Steve Spagnuolo, man, for making those adjustments on defense. But holy bleep, I don't want to curse too much. Holy bleep. McCole Hardman, man. I almost had to make an entire segment out of just ragging on you this week because you drove me crazy. First of all, it was 27-24 still, right? Yeah, it was 27-24, which ended up being the final score. The Bills, on their own 30-yard line, go for a fake punt with Damar Hamlin. It's not a Disney movie, Sean McDermott. What did the script tell you? Yeah, you got to have Damar Hamlin, who's played 2 snaps the whole season, go out and save your ass? You're on your 30-yard line. What are you doing? Now, we've seen the memes that are like, congrats to the Bills losing by 3 in honor of Damar Hamlin. Yeah, I'm not going to make those jokes, okay? But, like, what the actual are you doing? I mean, if I were a Bills fan, man, look, listen, I'm here to celebrate the Chiefs today. I don't like the Bills themselves, but I do feel bad for Bills fans. Like, trust me, guys, I was there. Now, I wasn't there with my elite quarterback. We were there with Alex Smith getting our heart broken, so I could see how it's even more frustrating because you have Josh Allen, who's a guy that I know that you truly think in your hearts can take you to a Super Bowl, and I think that's true also, but there is one guy getting in the way of that, and that's Patrick Mahomes. But, man, I mean, think of the Bills, man. 2019, you lose a close game in overtime to the Texans. 2020, you got Stephon Diggs standing there watching the Chiefs have their championship celebration. By the way, he's still standing like that as we speak. Come to the dark side, Stephon Diggs, because clearly it's not working out in Buffalo anymore, and your contract's up. 2021, 13 seconds. We can move right past that one. Last year, just got blown out at home against the Bengals. That was just shocking. And then this year, wide right. Wide right. 2 words that have haunted the Bills. Probably, it's now going to haunt a new generation because it's haunted a generation of people that grew up in the 80s and 90s. Probably top 3 worst ways to lose a Super Bowl. You got to go 28-3. You got to go Russell Wilson throwing that interception. And then you got to go wide right with the Bills-Giants game. So the fact that not only Tyler Bass missed to lose the game, but it was wide right is just I don't get it. The city of Buffalo's nice. Are they cursed? Hey, yes, Al, you have your hand up. I'm sorry.
He just deactivated all of his social media, by the way.
Stephon Diggs.
No, Tyler Bass.
Tyler Bass. Okay, so if you didn't hear Al, he said that Tyler Bass deactivated all of his social media. Yeah, I mean, I would too. I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for him. I had him in fantasy 2 years ago. He was a legend. And I know they've had some kicking struggles this year and last year with Tyler Bass. I'm sure he's going to get cut. You know, that's just how it is. Same with Anders Carlson for the Packers. But, yeah, I do feel bad. Luckily, you're dealing with Buffalo fans. If you're Tyler Bass listening, like, definitely, yeah, shout out Tyler Bass. We know you're listening. But, like, luckily you're dealing with Bills fans who I think will be a little bit easier on you, even though I think they're more just heartbroken. Like, if this was Philly, he'd be dead. It'd be over for him. But, yeah, I would deactivate my socials after that. I couldn't. I feel horrible for the guy. Like, if it wasn't against the Chiefs, I would genuinely feel, like, really, really bad for Bills fans. But it's kind of like when we beat the Bengals last year. Like, my dad, we're sitting in a studio right now. You can't see it with we got tons of Bengals stuff. Like, my dad's a giant Bengals fan. And, you know, it's bittersweet when we play each other in the playoffs. Like, it really sucked when we lost them 2 years ago. And my dad was cheering, but, you know, there was a part of them that felt sad for me. And then the opposite last year. So I feel for Bills fans. My mom's a Bills fan. You know, Bills fans are great people. Like, it's a great city. It's a great team. But you play who you play. And I'm not mad that we lost. But, man, like, it does suck, man. There's so many heartbreaks. Like, we had the Alex Smith era. We had to deal with blowing a 38-10 lead against the Colts. We had to deal with blowing a 21-3 lead against the Titans. We had to deal with D Ford lining up offsides. That was the Patrick Mahomes era. We had to deal with Eric Fisher holding. Like, there's so many heartbreaking moments, and now the Bills are going through it. And you have to ask yourself, like, the Super Bowl window, it's over for this specific team. Now, with Josh Allen on the team, you always have a chance in the playoffs. Or do you? I don't know. If you're not playing the Chiefs, I guess, but like, with Josh Allen, you always have a chance to be a great team, but with this specific team, with Stephon Diggs on it, you can't give another Von Miller contract out to a guy. You can't pay all these guys anymore. Your team's getting older. This is the iteration of your team that you've had for the last 4 or 5 seasons that was going to take you to a Super Bowl, and you guys couldn't get it done. So you have to ask yourself, like, a ton of questions in the offseason. Does Sean McDermott get fired? I don't know. It's going to be a lot of turmoil inside this franchise, and it's just, it really is crazy when you think about it. Back to 2020, when they were this close to getting to a Super Bowl, that Stephon Diggs, he's still standing there like that. And it's over for them. Like, but look, okay, enough negative. We're here to celebrate the Kansas City Chiefs. We got to talk a little bit more about the Chiefs before we get away from this game. I mean, first of all, the Chiefs played the complete opposite way we've played the entire year. We're usually relying on great defense and then hoping our offense doesn't completely screw up for the whole game. First of all, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, I've made fun of you multiple times this season. Redemption game. Congrats on 2 catches for 61 yards. And they were contested catches. Who would have thought, man? Who would have thought? Not me at all. Redemption game for Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Congrats. I wish I had a prop to give you, but you know what? The only time I ever have props is when I'm angry, and this time I'm too happy, so I'm just going to wear the sunglasses and the hat and celebrate. Like, the Chiefs, literally, we got back to our old offensive ways, but then we also got back to our old defensive ways, and it just seemed like a completely different Chiefs team this time. It was like last year. It was like 2 years ago. It was like the rest of the Patrick Mahomes era. We were moving the ball flawlessly down the field up until the end of the game, and when McCole Hardman fumbled, of course. And then Marquez Valdes-Scantling was making catches. Like, Travis Kelce held on to every ball. Our offense looked great, and then our defense couldn't stop shit. We couldn't stop shit. And, you know, the funny part was it's not even like 2021 where Josh Allen was just throwing bombs left and right. Like, he was just dumping it off, and we just couldn't tackle. We couldn't get good spies on them. And it was just dinking and dunking and 7 and 8 yard gains back and forth, and the Bills were just tearing up our defense. Willie Gay got injured, and, like, I was like, damn, like, we're actually going to have to win a shootout. And if there's one iteration of a Patrick Mahomes Chiefs team that can't win a shootout, it's this year's iteration. But we ended up doing it. And that's the most shocking part of this all. Like, I don't know what to expect next week now that we've played great on offense but not great on defense. So that was completely shocking. I think the fact that we've converted more touchdowns than field goals in this game was huge. I was very nervous at the beginning of the game when it started 10-6 because I was like, they're just trading off touchdowns and we're getting field goals, and this is not how we win the game. We're having the same problems in the red zone. But then once we got that long Travis Kelce touchdown, and then we got another Travis Kelce touchdown, which, by the way, broke a record. It broke Tom Brady and Gronk's record for quarterback receiving duo touchdowns in the playoffs. Congrats. And then Isaiah Pacheco scored. They were throwing snowballs at us. Like, look, I have respect for Bills fans, but you got to stop doing that, man. Like, I get it's funny, but, like, one day you're actually going to fucking hit the guy, and, like, it's going to get in his fucking eye, or he's going to slip on it and fucking tear his ACL. Like, you got to stop. You got to stop with that. But, man, I mean, I'm looking at my notes right now. I got so much written down, but there's just so much raw emotion about this game, or my head's spinning. I just can't believe that our floor, even in our worst season, you've watched back all the episodes this season, our worst season as a team, we're still going to the AFC Championship game. I must be the most spoiled person on planet Earth right now. Like, thank God, if I went back to my 5-year-old self, man, thank God I picked the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, I am so grateful. This is the spiel I gave last year where I said the podcast was going to be boring because it's just me being grateful the whole time, me being nervous about the Chiefs, and not me ranting about how bad we've been. But it feels like the same thing now. Like, now I know this sounds bad, but I'm kind of, like, content with the season now. Now, obviously, I'm not going to want to hear myself say that when I sit down on the couch on Sunday and I'm going to be shitting myself watching Chiefs-Ravens. Like, no, I'm going to be nervous as hell. But, like, looking back at it, like, the fact that we even won 2 playoff games, we beat the Bills in Buffalo, we're still going to the AFC Championship game, we went 11-6, still won the division. Patrick Mahomes, still 4,000 yards, 27 touch. Like, when you look back at it, this season, honestly, for what it was in the regular season, was a success. Like, I know a lot of Chiefs fans are not going to want to hear that because the job's not done. And I agree. Of course I'm going to want to go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. But when you really think about it, just go back to Week 16. That was only a few weeks ago. We looked like one of the worst teams in the NFL right then, at least offense-wise. But yeah, to see where we've come from Week 16 to now, I'm just really happy with how we're performing. And look, the job's not done. I'm rooting for them to get to the Super Bowl, of course. But I'm just saying, the fact that we did get back to our 6th straight AFC Championship game is huge. One final note, I just feel like, look, the rest of the AFC, let's say we beat the Ravens this week. If you guys can't beat us this year, you might as well give up. I'm sorry. But you catch us on a year, you thought last year might have been an off year, a rebuilding year, and we won the Super Bowl. What are you going to say about this year if we get to Vegas? Like, I'm sorry. So Mahomes, he's the Grim Reaper. Josh Allen's been his victim 3 times now. Josh Allen, you're probably the new Phillip Rivers. Tom Brady equals Mahomes. No, not in accolades. I know, obviously. Stop. Anytime that someone's like, Patrick Mahomes is the new Tom Brady, and everyone's like, no, he's not. Stop. Like, yeah, obviously, he's only 28 years old. Yeah, we're not saying the new Tom Brady now, but we're saying he's the new face of the league that gets to the championship game every year. Like, stop, guys. You're just trying to hate Mahomes. That's why we say the comparison. Just shut up. Okay, let's move on because, man, I just talked so much about the Chiefs. Rightfully so, because I really genuinely thought that could have been our last game of the season. But it's not. Let's move on to what now could be our last game of the season, but hopefully not, because this is where the big dogs come out. Chiefs-Ravens. Chiefs-Ravens. AFC Championship game in Baltimore. The matchup we've all been waiting for. The Chiefs have not played the Ravens since week 2 of 2021. It's been a while. Very underrated, I wouldn't say rivalry because they're not a rivalry, but very underrated matchup over the Mahomes era. 2018, we beat them 27-24 in overtime. Mahomes had that 4th and 17, a crossbody throw to Tyreek Hill to save the game. That was a classic. We played in week 3 of 2019. I believe we won that 33-28. That was a shootout. 2020, we got them pretty good in Baltimore. I think it was like 34-20. And then in 2021, that was the game that Clyde fumbled at the end, and we lost it 35-36. So we've had some really good matchups against the Ravens, and we haven't played them, this iteration of the Ravens yet, with a much better defense. Lamar seems way more focused. I mean, I already gave Lamar all his accolades at the beginning of the show. Like, this is a completely different Ravens team, and this is a different Chiefs team, though, too. Like, we're not going to be giving up 30-plus points to the Ravens like we did in the past. We're not going to be giving up 28 points. Hopefully not. Our defense, let's say that we don't play as bad as we did against the Bills. Like, let's say we're still giving up around 20 points a game. I think the Chiefs definitely have a shot if our offense keeps playing like this. Now, I know we have not seen the defense like the Ravens yet. I'm definitely taking that into account. But for our defense, I kind of feel like it's a similar game plan that we had against the Bills. We got to stop Lamar taking off, and we got to send a spy on Lamar, and we have to stop the run as best we can because our run defense has been not great this year. But they love to do the 1-2 punch of Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, and then have Lamar sprinkled in there running in himself. I think we could take care of him passing because, we just got to cover Mark Andrews. You could put Snead, McDuffie, someone on him like that. And then you got Zay Flowers. Like I think I'm confident in our secondary. But where it's really going to come down to is stopping what we needed to stop with the Bills game. And look, we gave up 24 points to the Bills. So if we give up 24 to the Ravens, I think we got a shot. But, man, Mahomes versus Lamar to get to the Super Bowl. This is exactly the matchup I wanted to try to get to the Super Bowl. This is so much fun. I'm not even that nervous. Like, I'm just so happy we're here again. Like, it's crazy that we're in the championship game. It really is. So, listen, the Ravens should absolutely be favored. I will never get mad at anybody for picking the Ravens to win this game. Will I be shocked if the Ravens win this game? Nope. Am I going to bring out, the tissues this time and fake cry and then be like, psych, I'm picking the Chiefs? No. But I will pick the Chiefs this time. Because why not? I mean, we got this far anyways. Why would I pick against them? I'm just going to go in this with full, excitement. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm sure I'm going to be nervous as hell during the game. But the fact that we're even here playing the Ravens right now, claiming a top 2 spot in the AFC this year after everything that happened, I'm just so excited about it. So I got to go with the Chiefs. Oh, man. To go to their 4th Super Bowl in 5 years, Mahomes going to chase his 3rd ring, his 2nd in a row. Let's try to build the dynasty. Chiefs, I'm making a lot of noise. The Chiefs win this game 24-23. A 1-point victory, a 1-point margin to get to the Super Bowl. And the Kansas City Chiefs will do it. Okay, now we got the NFC Championship game. 49ers hosting it. Yep, checks off. That makes sense. Who's their opponent? The Detroit Mother Lions. The Detroit Lions are their opponent. They're going to go into San Francisco, and they're going to win. They're going to beat the San Francisco 49ers. And we're going to have a rematch of Week 1. Chiefs versus Lions in the Super Bowl. It's going to be a heroes versus villains theme. I know you like that, Survivor fan, Al. Wait, right? You're a Survivor fan? Yeah, okay. Wasn't that a season? Wasn't that like a big season, heroes versus villains? Okay, I pulled that out of my ass, and I was hoping I was correct. I'm more of a Big Brother guy myself. But heroes versus villains. Literally every single human is going to be rooting for the Lions except for Chiefs fans. Except for maybe Packers fans. Maybe, I don't even know. I think Vikings, Bears, and Packers fans might be rooting for Detroit at this point. Like, actually. So, it's going to be us against the world if this is the matchup. But I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. And you know what? If we lost to the Lions in the Super Bowl, it wouldn't be nearly as bad as if we lost to the 49ers. Like, I would feel happy for Lions fans, honestly. So, Chiefs-Lions, I'm not even really going to preview the 49ers-Lions game. Because, you know what? I'm just going solely based on what I want. My gut feeling. I want to curse so bad, but screw the 49ers is what I'm going to say. Screw the 49ers. I want them to lose their 3rd NFC Championship game in a row. That would be great. I don't like their fans. I don't like the team. I don't like the hype behind Brock Purdy. I'm sick of watching CMC get 10 yards a pop. I'm sick of watching the 49ers. All right, let's prove the Super Bowl theory, color theory, Super Bowl logo color theory wrong. I'm stuttering right now. Let's prove that theory wrong, that it's not red and purple. You know, the alternate colors for that logo that they came out with a few months ago? It was red and blue, which is why it's going to be Chiefs-Lions, which is why the NFL now needs to prove that it's not scripted so people are not pissed when it's Ravens-Niners. So bring it on home. Chiefs-Lions. Lions win it 20-17 on a game-winning field goal. And they're going to send their way to the first ever Super Bowl. Chiefs-Lions, thank you guys for watching. and listening. Please, thank you so much, by the way, for all the support. We have gained so many subscribers in the last just week. Like, I'm so thankful. Thank you guys for supporting us, watching the Reels, watching the YouTube Shorts, watching TikTok. Please follow us on all socials at In the Huddle Podcast on YouTube, _ In the Huddle _ on TikTok, and at In the Huddle Pod on Instagram. Thank you guys so much. Go Chiefs. I wish you all the luck. Have fun watching championship weekend. We only got 2 more weekends of football left. Love you guys. See you later.